Well, Mark, welcome to the program, and so appreciate your time. And 3 days to go or thereabouts, and it's all over for the livestock exporting industry for now. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a real shame. We've been quite clear on our position all the way through on this, that we oppose the ban, and we would like to see the practice reinstated sometime in the near future again.
I was reading stuff this morning. Virginia Fallon's had a bit of a crack at all those involved and saying whichever way you look at it, the 3 weeks on a ship through the tropics is not good for animal welfare. How do you answer that, even though I know you talk about a gold standard in animal welfare?
Yeah, well, I don't know if those numbers are quite correct, actually. My understanding is, I guess it could be up to that long, but the standard would be 15 days to China. And it actually raises a separate issue because, if with stopping trade from New Zealand, there's a likelihood of sourcing similar stock from out of South America, and then they would be looking at closer to a month, actually, about 27, 28 days to China from South America. But I think the bigger issue here is that ultimately that doesn't make too much difference. If you look at the example that you just gave, the people that are opposed to the trade, they're opposed to it on principle, and so it doesn't really make too much difference as to what changes and how you alter the numbers and what have you. They're still going to be opposed to it. So the issue is more around the industry itself wanting to ensure that we're meeting the highest possible standards, and so that's where that idea of a continuous improvement, working towards a high level gold standard, is the outcome that we would all want to see.
And I know when they get there, do we actually really know what happens to these animals?
I guess we're mainly in that instance referring to China, and I think there is perhaps a missed opportunity there in that the Chinese were prepared to work with us in terms of having some ongoing input into animal welfare and just understanding better what the outcomes for these animals were going to be going forward. That's a little bit of a lost opportunity there at present, but whether that's something that could be reinstated in the future, one would hope so. I think there's a willingness to do that.
Now, Damien O'Connor, the Ag Minister, says, of course, that it was a relatively small amount of money involved. I think it's about 350 million, or 0.6%, and also that was dangerous for our reputation. For the people like the Stuff article, and for the consumers overseas who probably don't understand how it all works, but it doesn't look good. How do you counter that?
In terms of impact on consumers, I think that's a little bit speculative. I'm not aware that there's any clear evidence that is the case, and also I think it's reasonably clear to be able to articulate that we had the opportunity, I guess, to provide a better standard than what could otherwise be achieved internationally, and so we've not done anything to slow down or stop the trade of livestock internationally. But we did have a clear opportunity to be able to place a gold standard on it and work towards having the best outcome possible, and so I think that's one counter. I guess the other thing is that there's considerable you mentioned the money side of it there, and the percentage, and there's a considerably greater lost opportunity for New Zealand than what just simply the value of the animals that went offshore was, because it impacts on our local market. It underpins a lot of what we do locally, and so what we're seeing already happening now is that we've got a real backlog of surplus stock in New Zealand, and so the further argument to that is, okay, now we can't export them via this gold standard. What is going to be the outcome for those stock? And the reality is that a lot of them will be facing slaughter at an earlier age than what they would have if they'd been exported. So, the argument cuts both ways, basically.
So the National Party said they're getting it reinstated if they get into power. Do you think that will work for them?
That's kind of one of those issues that they've got to weigh up and say, well, where do they feel that the perception of the wider voting public actually sits on this? And I think they've read the room right, in that, the public, there's probably still questions out there in the minds of the public. People raise questions about, are we exporting our genetic potential? Are we increasing supply overseas? It's going to reduce our ability to market, and these kind of things. And so there's perhaps still question marks in the minds of consumers, which those questions can be answered quite well. But otherwise, I think they have read the room right, and most people would understand that there already exists a significant international trade anyway, and we're not doing anything to change that. In fact, we're probably lowering the standards by us pulling out of it.